Will internal strife and external dread be the deciding factor in breaking up the first family? Well, let's hop into the pages of Fantastic Four Life Story issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so in keeping with the life story gimmick, as we join issue 2, we are officially in the 70s right now, and the Fantastic Four are still riding pretty high. Reed and Sue are married, and they even have their first child, Franklin Richards. The Thing is getting some small-time acting gigs on television, and the Human Torch Johnny Storm was actually there with John Lennon and Yoko Ono when they stayed in bed in New York. Now that is a hell of a story. Dr. Reed Richards is also touring the country trying to get anyone in American intelligentsia to take him seriously when it comes to the threat of Galactus. Well, Mr. Fantastic is 100% certain about what he's seen and that Galactus will certainly be the end of all mankind on Earth. Everyone else thinks he's kind of a crackpot, a brilliant crackpot, but a crackpot. You can actually draw a lot of interesting parallels between Reed Richards trying to blow the whistle on Galactus and a lot of early scientists trying to warn people about global warming and climate change. Now, while issue 1 of this series actually had very little in the way of straight-up references to other Marvel characters, this one is actually chop-loaded with connective tissue. You see, there's two people who actually do take Reed's claims seriously. One is weapons manufacturer Tony Stark, who agrees that the Earth needs to arm itself against extraterrestrial threats, but probably because, let's face it, he wants to be the one to build and maintain those weapons. And the other person is a mysterious man who goes by the name of Victor Von Doom. No, it's not Dutch, it's Latvian. This, of course, being Mark Russell offering yet another major shakeup to Fantastic Four continuity. Now, instead of knowing Doom as a younger man, Reed only meets him a couple decades into his superhero career. And speaking of how exactly is the Fantastic Four superhero career, well, they're still making time to fight villains like the Mad Thinker, but it's clear that it's not Reed's major focus anymore. His work with Galactus is occupying his mind, and he's not the only one. Sue is actually staying home to raise Franklin, and we actually get a number of very funny scenes wherein people don't know the Invisible Woman isn't there because, well, she's invisible, don't you know? Another interesting thing you'll probably realize about this issue right away is that issue 2 is more a story about Sue than it is about anyone else. In fact, she's even given narration duty. Sue goes on to explain that while the extended Richards family may have been the first family of superheroes in the Marvel Universe, they would be far from the last. All sorts of crazy superpowered individuals are starting to pop up all over the place, including Black Panther, the King of Wakanda, who runs off Ulysses S. Claw by paying him off with a chunk of vibranium before he can end up taking control of an African diamond mine. Now, all of these different seemingly unrelated factors begin to start making cracks within the relationship between Reed and Sue. It's clear that Reed can't really be a good dad while he's also trying to be a world-saving scientist and superhero. Sue also desperately wants to rejoin the superhero workforce and have a life outside of the Fantastic Four's compound, but that's made a lot more difficult by the fact that Victor Von Doom is whispering in her husband's ear. Victor keeps telling Reed that his family is thinking too small, and in the end everyone in the world will thank them for the good that they've done. And that the problem with being a modern-day scientific prophet is that everyone else around you wants to be a prophet too, but in the end there can be only one. Reed also opines to himself if this strange new connection he's formed to the space being known as Galactus is a two-way street. Reed can see in his mind's eye the Eater of Worlds destroying planets on his march to Earth, and he wonders what Galactus must think if he can look in on his life. Things really come to a head too when Reed lets NASA have it once he realizes that they're trying to make friendly contact with space aliens. His cosmic fear of the other reflected in the growing Cold War and the endless, at the time, Vietnam War. Things get so bad within the Richards household, Franklin stops calling Reed Dad at all and starts calling him Dr. Richards, which has to be one of the saddest things I've ever heard. Sue actually ends up having a really great heart-to-heart with her brother Johnny that is probably my favorite part of the whole issue. As hurt as she is right now, she feels bad for her brother because, well, Johnny held up Reed as a father figure too. Johnny ultimately ends up filling his sister's heart in a way she never felt possible by saying that the only reason he followed the two of them out into space wasn't because he loved and respected Reed, it was because he loved and respected Sue so much. All of this ultimately ends up to the camel's back being metaphorically broken when Sue realizes that all of the new superheroes are coming together for a big meeting at the UN, but Reed just so conveniently managed to deny going on behalf of the whole Fantastic Four. This leads to a massive fight between Reed and Sue, wherein the Invisible Woman says she refuses to be invisible anymore and that there's no point in trying to save the world if you're not going to actively try and make it a better world to live in. This turn of events naturally leaves Mr. Fantastic shocked and gobsmacked, but what happens next really ends up adding some salt to the wound. Turns out Victor Von Doom had no intention of actually helping Reed save the world from Galactus. Instead, he only wanted Reed's help to build a high-tech war suit that he hopes to use to battle the superhero community under his brand new persona, Dr. Doom. Again, interesting change to the text. Now it's Victor Von Doom who ends up betraying Reed Richards, where in every other version, Doom is usually propelled by some sort of perceived slight that Reed did against him. Sue and Johnny, along with Captain America, Black Panther, and Namor the Submariner, do eventually end up having their big speech with the UN, and things are going pretty good at first, that is until Doom ends up breaking in. Whatever Reed and him did, they built that suit real damn good, and the assembled superhero community can do very little to stand against him. Luckily, Doom, like so many other villains before him, made the tragic mistake of counting out Sue Richards, thinking that she was invisible, when in reality she was just behind him. The day is ultimately saved and Doom is vanquished, but it's not a happy ending. Reed is nowhere closer to defeating the threat of Galactus, and his own marriage to Sue has ended up crumbling under the pressure of it all. Reed ultimately does end up finding a sympathetic ear and shoulder to cry on in Ben Grimm the Thing, who ultimately ends up being every bit the friend to Reed in this universe that we know him to be in any other universe. Here's the thing though, Sue ultimately ends up finding a new friend too in the form of Namor. In fact, her and Franklin live by the ocean, so Sue can be all that much closer to the sexy fish man. Well, I mean, how many times in the main 616 universe has Namor said, if you keep neglecting your wife, Richards, you're gonna lose her? And well, in Life Story, that's exactly what happened as the comic ends. And so that was Fantastic Four Life Story issue number 2, everybody, and overall I did enjoy it, even if I did feel that this issue once again ended up being something of a mixed bag. I can't help but feel that 2 issues in this series isn't really making as good a use of the whole American time capsule thing that Spider-Man Life Story did, but maybe Russell just doesn't want to step on the toes of that other story. Also, the Fantastic Four is a team book, but so far each of these issues has focused on one member of the team way more than others. Issue 1 was all about Reed, and issue 2 here is all about Sue. Don't get me wrong, it's a pretty damn good Sue story. I love the idea of the Invisible Woman fighting for the Fantastic Four to be more active inside the superhero community and try and do more good to make Earth more livable and not just save it every couple days. Also, this is a nitpick, and again, I hate to continue comparing this to Spider-Man Life Story, but I thought it was a missed opportunity on the side of the art team to try and not recreate or reimagine some of these cool costumes. Instead, it's just Dr. Doom as we know him, Black Panther as we know him. Where the Spider-Man book kind of took more creative swings when it came to the costuming. Overall, though, I'd still feel comfortable giving this one a 7.5 out of 10. It's pretty good, and I think the next issue is going to actually be a lot better as we head into the 80s. Hey there, everyone. It's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description? Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way, everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.